Canada. He is majoring in EXSS with minors in chemistry and entrepreneurship as well. He brings a wealth of experience in leadership, as he has demonstrated history of being a founder, history in chemistry, networking, communications, and just problem solving in general. And these are all skills that are needed to meet the evolving needs of healthcare. And so together, lead on Healy, a platform that we believe has the potential to transform the healthcare industry. We are committed to creating a world where access to quality healthcare is a fundamental right, and medical professionals are equipped with the knowledge and skills they need to actually meet these evolving needs of the patients. And today, we are actually honored to have Dr. Christopher Liu here with us today to share his insights on the healthcare industry. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Liu.
Hey, thanks, Joe, and I appreciate the invitation. And I know we had met at one of the PodFest expos, and I'm really happy to share what I know to medical pre-meds and people interested in the healthcare profession.
So right now, Dr. Liu will be giving us a presentation, and then after, I will be asking him a set of questions.
All right. So today's talk is all about financial literacy and fitness for the healthcare professional post-COVID. So we all know that the world is changing. Really, COVID kind of put basically woke everybody up to the fact that the world is a little bit different, and we have to evolve and change and adjust to existing needs. So that's what I'm here as a healthcare professional, and tell you some of the tools, tactics, and strategies that I use to find success and fulfillment in my career. So quick outline, I'm going to give you a quick background, my story, and then the actual need for financial literacy and the ability to prepare yourselves for what's coming in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So mindset, skill sets, how you can prepare yourself both medicine-wise as well as outside of medicine, because you really have to, in this day and age with the aging healthcare profession, you need to really mitigate these types of risks that's going to happen to the system. And then happy to answer questions. So this is for pre-meds, med students, really residents. This is really guidance and advice and wisdom in order to survive and succeed. And people interested in entrepreneurship, people interested in doing things outside of medicine, innovating within medicine. So I always talk about entrepreneurship versus entrepreneurship. So quick definitions, we'll talk about financial independence. That basically means that you basically can support yourself apart from friends, family. You can basically make a living on your own. Financial freedom is the next step, is where you don't need a job, you don't need to clock in, you can do whatever you want and make meaning out of life. So that can come from investing, that can come from savings, that can come from having a really successful career, rising up the ranks. And then there's different types that we can talk about, but there's these different meanings in terms of the financial independence movement. But really, it's all about preparing yourself for the next 10 to 15 years. So a little bit about me. So I started my career back in '96, right when the internet was getting started. And so I remember the big thing back in '96 was the ability to send email. And something, we take for granted today was huge back then. And since then, it's been amazing to see the social media streaming, social media search, all of these. Now it's artificial intelligence, blockchain, and we've really come a long way. But nevertheless, I took the traditional route. I was pre-med, went to Baylor for medical school. That was really what I was gung-ho and set my sights on, and I made it there. I was an MD, PhD. And really my entrepreneurial career got started during my PhD years, where I studied at Rice University, Department of Bioengineering, very similar to UNC Chapel Hill. And back then it was a hub for entrepreneurial, a lot of undergrads starting companies out of their dorm rooms and businesses. And I started 2 companies investing in stocks and trading options, as well as investing in real estate. So I got my financial freedom really early, and I learned the value of financial literacy. If you understand numbers and you understand savings, you can go a long way. So, and then was able to retire early. at the age of 38. So since then, I was 38 years old and I had really achieved everything I wanted, and did everything. I got into orthopedics, and but really my passion was really in helping people, sharing, educating, and making an impact in different ways. So I took a year off to really travel the globe, really try to figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I started my company called Financial Freedom for Physicians, which basically helps physicians achieve financial literacy, financial freedom. We talk about investing, how to navigate career transitions, what is upcoming technological changes and trends. So I've written 4 books. I've consulted with healthcare organizations, physicians. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of educating. I have a podcast, YouTube channel. You can check me out. I'll send the links to Joe at the end of it, so you can reach out to me. My email address is Chris@Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. So that's me in a nutshell. And now I want to make it about you. So really, the world is changing. So if you really understand what's going on and what's happening, so we're experiencing a lot of instability globally. So we have a lot of geopolitical instability, political instability, social strife, riots, economic instability, banking crisis, financial crisis, wealth gap, climate change. All these signify that there's something wrong with the world today. So there's this great book that I recommend that you guys check out. It's called The Fourth Turning, and it was written in 1997, but it really describes what is happening in our world today. So every 80 to 100 years, there's these crises, these periods of turmoil and strife. So in the 60s, you had the racial riots, you had, Roe v. Wade, Brown versus Board of Education, all these landmark changes. And right now what we're seeing is a collision of all of these factors coming together all at once. And that's the result of an unstable financial, educational, political system. And so if you really understand where we are today, you understand that the amount of change and disruption that we've experienced over the last 20 to 30 years isn't going to compare to what we're going to experience in the 10 to 15 years. So if you're smart, you're hardworking, you're prepared, and you're able to function in highly dynamic and changing, very variable environments, you can set yourself up for a lot of success as a physician in your career, investing. So that's why, I love talking to undergrads about this. And COVID was kind of the stamp that really woke everybody up, kind of made everybody reassess where they were and move forward. So check that book out. It's a really great book. But in terms of the medical profession, what you're seeing is I wrote this during the pandemic. I was really active on social media. I wrote a bunch of articles. My blog got tons of views, and I wrote for Kevin MD. So for the undergrads there, check out Kevin MD. It's got a lot of interesting articles from physicians, residents, med students. And I wrote about how, in the past, physicians, were thought of as, once you're a physician, you were thought of as rich and stable, but that's really not the case. A lot of physicians are struggling financially with student loan debt. A lot of them are suffering from burnout. They hate their careers. They hate working for the healthcare system. Healthcare system is inherently slow, inefficient, expensive. In a lot of countries, healthcare systems are better than the United States. And that's just, that's a result of poor policy on the part of our government. So check this article out. But really, the healthcare system is at a inflection point. So you have aging demographics, you have rising inflation, you have emergence of global competition, you have unsatisfied workforce, high student loan debt, and then you also have a lot of doctors leaving the field. So what you're seeing is a train collision against so many factors. So healthcare is technically in a crisis, and it's on many fronts. Both access, doctors don't want to practice anymore. There's a physician shortage, student loan debt, burnout, depression, all these problems. But at the heart of it are patients and doctors. And doctors at the heart of it are really great people. They've sacrificed a lot, time, energy to become where they are. So, I'm really trying to make you aware so you can prepare yourself. If you go into medicine, as a practicing physician, you have to be prepared for these types of stresses, because it can be a lot of stress and a lot of time. You're going to have a lot of family relationship strife, financial strife. So get ready. And, like I said, COVID really shined the light that doctors are not financially well off. They can get laid off at any time, just like any job. So if you don't diversify your income sources or you don't prepare yourself financially, you can experience the same types of things that are happening. So, and these calamities are happening more frequently, more rapidly, more severely. They're lasting a lot longer, and they're happening very unpredictably. So, this whole idea where, back then it was like this traditional model, this industrial model where everything was stable and, you climbed the ladder and everything was good and grand at the end of 50 or 60 years is not true anymore. So just accept that fact and prepare yourself. There's also the problem of the growing wealth gap. The top 1% is getting richer and richer every single year, despite what's happening. So this is at the expense of all of the others that are not prepared mentally and financially. So, the truly rich, they have a different mindset. They do different things. They have knowledge and access. They have access to people, information, contacts that the masses do not have. So understand this, and you have to use this to hedge against these types of things, because the saying goes, the rich get richer and richer. The rich pay less in taxes, while the rest of everybody pays the majority of the taxes. So understand this. It's a different mindset. So, current state affairs, we talked about transition from an industrial to an information age. And now the information age is things move at Twitter speed. So things can fall and collapse in a matter of seconds, minutes to weeks, whereas things in the past took, months to years to play out. So everything is much faster. Data is the new oil, and network effects, scalability, all these things are real, and things, like I said, information and everything travels at light speed. And this is symptoms of a larger problem, this idea of career dissatisfaction, you got burnout. These are all problems of an aging and broken healthcare system. So it's great that, it's great to get a great GPA. It's great to get a good MCAT score. It's great to, go to Baylor, these top medical schools. That's great. But realize that, you have to understand what I wish I had known back then was, what is the state of the healthcare system? Because know what you're getting yourself into, because some of the best and brightest, they don't understand this, where they're actually going into a broken healthcare system. And as a result, they get frustrated and they basically peter out. And so there was a recent article talking about financial literacy among the physician community, and it was actually quite poor, because basically in the past, once you were a doctor, you made a predictable income. It was a high income. It was stable. And now with, rising inflation, rising debt, rising taxes, all of these things, a broken healthcare system, really that amount of sacrifice that you do, and the time and energy and money it takes, a lot of doctors are starting to question whether it's worth it or not. So the more there was a study where it showed that a lot of residents and fellows, they really didn't have an adequate understanding of financial literacy. And as a result, going from, a no salary to a attending salary in a short period of time resulted in a tremendous amount of financial mistakes, a lot of lost time. On average, it takes about 10 to 15 years for a doctor to make up for lost time, compared to somebody that at 21 graduated and started working for a company. So that's kind of the lag. Coupled on that, you have, the financial mistakes, student loan debt. Doctors take a long time. So what are some of these top mindsets to start develop? So one is contrarian thinking. And really, as a physician, what I recommend, the best thing to do if you plan to go the traditional route is become an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur is somebody that goes within a system and can work within the existing system to innovate, can change. They're entrepreneurial, and they're able to exact change within organizations. So these are some of the top healthcare systems in the United States. For example, Boston, a lot of in the Med Center here, Los Angeles, all these, North Carolina. The best organizations are led by entrepreneurs. So they basically make it to the executive level, and they're changing the organizations based on changing trends. And so that's the best type of approach in the healthcare system. And it takes contrarian thinking, it takes outside of the box thinking. You have to be innovative, creative, and if you can work within the system, you can really shape it and change it. I think healthcare system has an extremely long way to go, and it's extremely slow and inefficient, but eventually there's a breaking point where innovation hits a critical mass. So that's one way. The other way, for example, a lot of my colleagues, they graduated medical school, they did not do residency, and they started their own companies, their own healthcare companies, information technology, artificial intelligence, consulting, a lot of different things. So these are titled entrepreneurs. So they basically innovate outside of the system. And entrepreneurs, the risk is high risk, but it's high reward. So understand that the risk reward ratio is a little bit different than the traditional approach. So these are some of the mindsets to take in mind. I find that if you had a struggle or you had hardship that you had to overcome, that usually makes you a little bit more hungrier, and it makes you a little bit more successful when you think about things in the long term. So, the medical field is a little bit, shall I say, it's a little bit traditional because, there's a cultural and generation gap between the elder and, the millennials and Gen Z. So a lot of the fixed mindsets based on the baby boomers, the good thing is a lot of them are retiring and handing it down to Gen X and millennials. So, but, ideas around money where it was shameful to talk about it, to sell yourself, to promote yourself. You need to be able to, as a physician, you need to market yourself. You need to be able to communicate ideas. You need to be able to sell. You need to be able to promote. So these are basic business skills that are not taught in medical school. So you have to learn this on your own and develop these skills. In the past, all you needed was a high earned income and you were fine. Now you have to understand the role of inflation, taxes, debt. You also have to understand the role that malpractice, divorce, all of these things have a huge effect on your net worth and your wealth. So, and there's also this question of, in the past, doctors were like, oh, I have a 10 million net worth, but, let's say they have zero cash or savings in the bank. So all their net worth is in their house or their cars, and they thought they were rich, right? So, come 2008, come 2020, then they really realized the fact that you need to have there's difference between cash flow rich versus balance sheet rich. So there's two different types of thinking. And then, just traditional modes of thinking, basic financial literacy. These are all things, you have to start to consider. So some of the top skill sets I'll go in that are not taught in medical school. These are not things that you can develop in a classroom. You have to really there's great books out there, leadership books, management books, but you have to actually go out there and practice it. So this is with your fellow classmates in your courses. And it's really, these are more real world, real skills. So a great book that I recommend is called The Millionaire Mind. And he's Thomas Stanley. This really highlighted the fact that high net worth individuals versus the people that struggled financially. And it really came down to really just habits, simple. It does not take rocket science, because the majority, if you can get into medical school and graduate and do residency, you are more than well equipped to understand financial literacy. This is much easier than learning the Krebs cycle and all of that. So, and it just takes a mindset, and it takes financial discipline, and really just basically, living within your means. That's the basic premise, right? Once you increase your earned income, you can save on taxes, you can make investments, you can save more, invest more. So that's kind of the basic premise. But really, a lot of the millionaires in this country are not well known. Like, they're not Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett. They're just regular people every day that just basically stick to a financial plan and have good, sound financial habits. And so, like I said, anybody can learn this. So check out that book. It really changed my outlook on what rich people are. So in the past, I thought if you drove a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, you must be rich. But what I realized that, it's all a mirage. So usually things are not always what they seem on the surface. Another book, really great book you need to read, is called Multiple Streams of Income. So if you're a physician and you're only dependent on one clinical income source, you are in big trouble because, for example, when COVID hit and your hospital furloughed you, cut your hours, laid you off, and you were dependent on that single income source to pay for your house, your wife, your kids, your family, all of that, a lot of doctors, file for unemployment then, which is almost unheard of, right? So you need to start thinking about multiple streams of income, passive income. So through investments, through royalties, through real estate, through dividends, through businesses, all of these things. This book was pivotal in helping me achieve financial freedom and financial independence. So the more income streams you have, the more ability you can say no to things, the more you can practice medicine on your own terms. If your hospital, forces you to do something, you can walk away and, without harming your financial future. So that's kind of the position you want to place yourself in. You want to be practicing medicine not because you're dependent on a salary or an income, but because you want to help people and do good. So these are things that are not taught in medical school, but really networking is really key. Your net worth is your network. So really cultivate relationships, professional, stay focused, communication, public speaking, influence, persuasion, marketing skills. These are all things that were traditionally frowned upon by the medical profession, but these are key skill sets that you need to succeed outside of medicine. So if you decide to start a business, if you decide to even, like I said, if you want to rise within the ranks of the medical profession, you need all of these skills. So, just be conscious of what influences and what people are saying and kind of filter it through these lenses. Does it make sense? Is this old ideas, new ideas, old paradigms, new paradigms? Really embrace technology and social media. These are key. These are things that help you increase your scale, your reach, your brand, help you to develop more influence, creating an audience, all of these things. Of course, there's risks with technology and social media, especially in medicine. So just keep in mind of these things. And, like I said, YouTube is the best resource. It's free. You can check out so many awesome videos, awesome creators, so many cutting edge ideas for free instantaneously. Podcasting, blogs, social media, all of these are great resources to educate yourself and to surround yourself. And with that, that's kind of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Liu. That was fantastic. I do have some questions though. So my first question for you is, what motivated you to pursue both an MD and PhD? And how has your training in bioengineering influenced your career path overall?
Yeah, that's a great question because I've always been entrepreneurial. So for me, I went into medicine because it was kind of emphasized by my parents and they were first generation. So, it's kind of a badge of honor to get into medical school. So that's kind of partly the reason. I've always been an entrepreneur, and apart from that, the medical profession does pay well. So, and I was like, an MD and a PhD opens a lot more doors compared to just an MD alone. So you can succeed with an MD, you can succeed with either one. It's kind of like how you navigate the career path. So, another great is always find mentors that are doing things that you want to do. So if a physician is an entrepreneur, or if a physician is academic or private practice, there's all these different pathways to success, and there's all these different ways of getting there. So really seek out mentors that resonate with you and can help you, because you'll get one piece of advice from one person, which could be the awesome advice, and then another person can say that advice isn't the best. So understand that there's to navigate the career landscape, you have to find someone that really knows it. But other than that, it was great training. Gave me great exposure to entrepreneurs, to people doing cutting edge things. Helped me tremendously with writing, speaking, marketing, social media. All of these things really help. So, if looking back, it's one of the best things I ever did. It took me an extra 3 years, but it was the best thing I did because that extra 3 years gave me exposure to a different aspect that I can take and use when I talk with clients. It's actually given me an edge over regular physicians because I have that extra degree and I have that extra training and I have that extra knowledge. So MD PhD is great if you're interested in biotech, if you're interested in academia, research, consulting, investing, a lot of different things. So it opens up a lot of doors. So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that piece about the MD PhD. So another question that I have is, you also mentioned you worked in orthopedics. So as an orthopedic surgeon, what were some of your most challenging cases you worked on, and what did you learn from these experiences?
So really, orthopedics, like I said, it was interesting going through the training process. I wouldn't do it again. It's so the best analogy I can give to orthopedic surgery is like being in the army. So you deal with a lot of uncertainty. You're dealing with a lot of chaos. You're dealing with a lot of high impact. Your decisions have a huge impact on patients' lives, their functions, their families. So you really have to have that mindset going in as in ortho. But the most challenging cases were the trauma, because basically that's when the whole shit hits the fan. It's basically, it's chaos, people screaming and yelling, and you have to stay calm and you have to be able to function under pressure in highly dynamic changing to really take care of patients. So the one thing so I didn't really enjoy it, but it really helped me understand the risk. So as a surgeon, you're always trying to, your decision has a significant impact on the outcome of a patient, either their life, their function, their family. That some of them may not be able to walk again, some of them may die, bleed out, all of this. So really, when I started my companies, I always think of it in terms of what is the risk. So what is the downside? Most people are thinking, oh, how much money can I make? But I'm always thinking, oh, what can I lose? So I'm always thinking about risk and evaluating risk. What are the components of risk? How can I solve, or how can I mitigate? How can I challenge or change the types of risk that is happening? So, if it's a risk with, regulation, or if it's a risk with, people, all these things, if you can become more certain about these different components and you can control it, you can control the outcome a little bit better. So that's one of the biggest lessons I learned as a surgeon.
Thank you for that piece. Yeah. Just that adaptability, like I can't imagine, like especially with trauma, as you said, it's just like everyone's like, Chris, where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.
But next question I have is, how did you transition from a career in medicine to becoming a successful entrepreneur and investor? I know you touched on this a little bit, but just sort of like wrapping it up and like more like summarizing it.
Yeah. Main thing is to be able to basically to get your financial independence and financial freedom. So basically, you have to create these streams of income that are outside of your clinical income. And so that basically gives you a little bit more freedom and options. So for example, if I didn't have multiple streams of income and I was solely dependent on a single clinical income, the transition from that to creating a income on my own is a lot harder. So basically, learning about what is financial freedom, how can I create it? How can I create streams of income outside of, trading my time for money? How can I become an investor? How can I invest in real estate? How can I invest in businesses? How can I create businesses? All these things really help me and smooth out the transition from full-time clinician, where you're trading your time, for your income, to where it's something you can do for your passion, or you can do it where it's not dependent upon you being there to generate an income. So that's kind of the core tenet, is basically your financial freedom, that multiple streams of income model.
Yeah. I think thank you for that. That's a key piece. Kind of building on that, I guess, what are some of the common financial mistakes that physicians make and how can you avoid them? I know you mentioned like that's one of the main things is physician mistakes, like when they get the vast amount of money, like how can you kind of avoid that? And what are some of the common mistakes?
Yeah, a lot. So one thing is, in this day and age, the cost of medical school, I would say, should be one of the top two or three factors for choosing a medical school. So, and what I mean by that is, for example, if you go to Harvard and you pay, 100K tuition per year, it's incredible. Some of these, the price tag of, and if you, for example, if you go to state school and pay, now it's like 20K per year, you do well at that state school, you can get match into a better residency than someone that went to Harvard and didn't do well. So that's kind of the asymmetry there. So you have to be a little bit smarter. So one thing is controlling your student loan debt in your costs. So that's one thing. Get into a medical school, accredited, ACGME, keep your expenses as low as possible during your medical school residency years. Learn about financial literacy, learn about financial freedom, learn about savings, frugality. Once you become an attending, there's a great quote, 3 to 5 years as an attending, you live like a resident. You basically live on like $50,000 a year and you save the rest and you invest. That'll set you up for almost the rest of your career. So that's kind of the way it is. But then, a lot of doctors, they suffer from this. It's almost like the sports star, the athlete, the celebrity, they get, 30 million and then they lose it all. And that's because they don't, like they said, they don't control their expenses. So you need to what you can control is your expenses, right? Live within your means. You don't need the Ferrari or the Porsche. You can, like I said, these things. So that's one thing. Two is lifestyle creep. So lifestyle creep means that basically you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to, show that you have income. You're trying to basically, live beyond your means, kind of, this kind of ego, this living with the Joneses. That's lifestyle creep. Okay. Number three is thinking that investing has to be fancy. So like these fancy tactics and strategies. Investing is really easy. All you need to do is allocate 20% of your income to index funds, really out. And then you basically live on minimal and you save the rest. But a lot of physicians, they get into, these investment schemes, they get into these pyramid schemes, they get scammed. A lot of their friends and family ask them for money, all these things. So that's a lot of things. It's called investment loss. So if you can avoid that, really understand that. So really, like I said, number one thing is control your expenses. That's the first step. Okay. And then, there's other things, but that's kind of the basic premise of some of the common mistakes.
All right. So moving on, my next question is, can you tell me about a time where you had to make a difficult decision as a physician and how you approach the situation? So it's a bit vague of a question. It can be anything as far as like practicing, something with a colleague, anything, any type of situation.
Yeah, well, I can tell you. So, for example, when I retired 7 years ago, that was a tough decision because I had invested a lot of time. I invested all this time and money and energy, and I wanted to do something different because really I realized that I could not do what I wanted to do by working in the existing healthcare system, because the healthcare system, it rewards people that just kind of fit within the system. But if you want to really make a significant change and impact, you really have to start something on your own, or you have to do it within, some like bigger organization. You have to have people supporting you. So that was kind of when I turned in my keys, badge, and pager. Look, I had multiple streams of income. I had my financial freedom. So it really didn't matter. But, a lot of colleagues, they reached out, they were concerned, and, people thought I was crazy, but like I said, you only live one life. So you really have to, live it and really find your passion and do what you're the best. So that's kind of one, there's a lot of times when you have to make difficult decisions about, which patients to triage, which, all these things, that's part of the stress of the medical system, is especially where it's a dysfunctional system, and then you're forced to make life and death choices, that can really weigh on you as well.
So kind of like building on that a little bit different of a question. How do you balance the demands of being an entrepreneur and an investor with your responsibilities as a doctor? I know now it's not really as prevalent that you're retired, but when you were in that stage of like building those like different sources of financial freedom, how are you able to balance that with like practicing as well?
Yeah, that's actually really hard. So at some point you have to make it, you have to make the jump. You have to decide, okay. And you have to have like, you have to be basically, you have to take a leap. It's like you have an income, you've built side streams, you have a base, you have good savings base, you have investments. And at some point, the duties of being a doctor are going to collide with your time and your aspirations for wanting to make a change. So it's really hard, but at some point, so for example, when I was able to create passive income for myself and basically create income where that met my monthly expenses, I had my financial freedom, and I was able to do it, for one month, and I could do it 2 months consecutive, 3 months, and that gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I can do this full time. I can jump in. I can do what I want. So it's really hard as a physician because your time is so limited. So like to be an entrepreneur, investor, and a physician is really, almost impossible. So because you have to do one thing and you have to do it very well. So so that as a physician, basically what you want to do is you want to get your savings base, get your investment rate higher, invest in real estate, and invest in index funds. And then once you're able to have a safety cushion, then you can go out and do what you want to do.
So moving on to the next question that I had. So what are some of the most, I guess, important leadership skills that you developed over the course of your career? And how have you kind of put those into practice now you've kind of taken a step back from practicing and more pursuing financial freedom and education and educating professionals, I guess, about financial freedom?
Well, I can tell you, I'm not a good manager, so I that's not my forte. As a leader, I'm good at strategy and I'm good at vision. So the important thing is, as a leader, like I realized early on that I wasn't good at managing people. I could manage myself, but it was just painful for me to like have to delegate. So, but I'm good as a leader because I have vision, I have strategy. The important thing is to find somebody. Usually in an organization, it's called the chief operating officer or chief financial, these things. Find someone who's good at the nitty gritty things like managing people, coordinating people, email, scheduling, all these things. That's the person that's going to really propel you to the next level, because that will save you tons of time, headache, and hassle. So really, as a leader, find someone that is a good they call them a COO. And that's one of the most important, leadership wise. Communication, empathy, really networking, all of these are super important skills. These are all high level skills. And then find people that are really good at the nitty gritty things, like the fine details, that are good at executing, that have the skills that you need to have your organization go to the next level.
Yeah, so just a couple more questions from me. So more moving into the future. So what role do you see physicians playing in shaping the future of healthcare policy? And how can they become more involved in this process?
That's a really great question. And the reason why, and again, you talk to different physicians and they'll give you different opinions. But my personal opinion, the reason why I started my own company was because it's really, like I said, it's really hard to change healthcare. Like they've been trying to change healthcare since Clinton, and it hasn't gone anywhere that significantly. So that's gives you an indication of how hard it is to change. So that's the reason why I went out on my own, because I could do my own thing, and I didn't really need to depend on organizations. But physicians are the key to saving this industry, because right now it's governed by politicians, business executives, a lot of people, who are not physicians. So they don't understand what goes into being a physician. They don't understand what goes into patient care. All they can understand is profit and loss, all of these these big business. So it's controlled by corporate, government, big business interests. So physicians really need to step up, really take an active role in healthcare policy. Really starts as medical students. So as medical students get involved in your local AMSA student organizations, really speak up about important healthcare topics. For example, burnout, career exodus, easy access, affordable access, equal access. All these things are super important that you start in the ground level as med students, all through residency. And it really takes, I think medical schools of the future should look for these types of healthcare providers, because, a lot of doctors, they just want to get in, they want to get out, they want to get their income and salary, make their money for their family and all that. But really, to really change it, we need more healthcare leaders that are passionate about making a change and moving the space forward.
And yeah, I love that answer. And just to wrap things up, finally, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your work and just learn from you about who you are?
So what they can do is I'm all over social media. So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just type in Christopher H. Loo, Loo, MD, PhD, and you'll find me. You can also visit my website. It's www.doctor, so CHRIS, Loo, Loo, MD, PhD.com. And they can email me at chris@drchrisloo, I'm there. And, as a free gift to people listening to this, if they email me, I'll send them a free video about my talk that I gave to you tonight.
Well, thank you all for joining us today for this insightful and informative webinar with Dr. Christopher Loo. We've hoped that you've gained some valuable insight to the healthcare industry and have had a thought-provoking and engaging discussion. At Healy, we believe the knowledge and innovation is key to driving positive change in the healthcare industry, and we're committed to empowering the next generation of medical professionals to meet the evolving healthcare needs of patients. We are grateful for Dr. Loo for sharing his expertise with us today, and we hope that the webinar has provided you with some new perspectives and ideas to take with you as you continue your journey in healthcare. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more about Healy, please feel free to reach out at healyunc@gmail.com. And if you would like to connect with Dr. Loo, you can find his contact information on his website at drchristopherloo.com. Also, there will be a short Q&A. But thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Eduardo, I wanted to ask you, do you have any questions for Dr. Loo?
Also, the website is www.drchrisloo, MD, PhD, and I also have a podcast and YouTube channel too, so you can check that out.